Hey everyone, welcome to the NeoMarketing podcast for November 2018. Today we're going to talk about alternative business models. We're going to have an interview with Mark Masters from Chloeta Fire, and I am going to give my 2019 business trend prediction for you. Welcome to the Golden Group NeoMarketing podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of modern business communication. Hey, good morning, Pritch. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Kyle. Yourself?
Fantastic. I'm super excited for this show. We have an interview with Mark Masters from Chloeta Fire coming up after this segment. Really interesting story of starting small, going through an incubator program, and now really developing into a big company that's doing successful things. They now employ over 140 people fighting fires, which is an interesting story.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, though, because of the way they operate, it's a B2G organization. It's a non-traditional route to building a business. I want to talk about all the different ways you might build a business that's very non-traditional.
Yeah.
So, you have your traditional routes. You have your B2B and B2C, right? Business to business, like what we do, the Golden Group. We're a business that offers services to other businesses.
Right.
It's also HR companies, payroll companies, CPAs, but anything, even companies that deliver the coffee and the food and things like that from business to business is B2B. Of course, B2C is business to consumers, right?
Right.
Retail or anything where the public's invited, whether it's brick and mortar or online, the public is buying products, services, etc. That's B2C, right?
Right.
So B2G, business to government, which is what Chloeta Fire is. They provide services for the government. Also, another great B2G example is ExploSafe, the folks who were at Oklahoma Venture Forum last month, and they're on the Oklahoma Venture Forum podcast.
Right.
If you guys aren't watching the Oklahoma Venture Forum podcast, it's on Spreaker, iTunes, and the videos are on YouTube. Go and check it out. Really cool series. We got 6 videos up from them about all business discussions, emerging businesses even. But ExploSafe started, they make sensors for chemicals that are unstable that might explode. So bombs and also industrial accident detection. They started off selling to the government, obviously, checkpoints and other places where you want to find bombs.
Right.
But now they also sell to certain businesses. So they're a hybrid of B2G and B2B. So these are different ways that traditional businesses are structured. But now we have so many different options because of technology, communication, et cetera, right? So you have what's called SaaS or SaaS, software as a solution. My favorite software solution, of course, is Vortex.
Yes.
Phone apps are the same thing. You don't necessarily meet someone to install an app on your phone. You go to Apple or to Google and you download it.
Right.
So developers are creating phone apps and things of that nature. People are selling and flipping, what they call flipping, buying low and selling high, or selling original products on platforms like Etsy, eBay, etc. But now Amazon allows people to sell products, whether they're import, export, or they're small manufacturing or handmade even, that they could sell via Amazon. And to some degree, Walmart.com is doing the same thing, letting people import, export, things of that nature. So those are different platforms that we just didn't have access to previously, where you could create a business out of your house.
A little bit of a rough start for Amazon, working out the kinks, but it's coming. It's working.
They'll get it all figured out.
Sure, absolutely.
Fine. Artists are also using social media differently to sell art, sell music, etc. But also platforms like Patreon, which allow them to, which is an old way, right? Back Shakespeare and the great patrons. The masters, had patrons.
Yeah.
So Patreon is a play on that and allows people to make small donations to artists on a regular, so the artists can create. And that platform is even expanded originally for traditional artists and musicians and things. And now illustrators, comic books, podcasts are being funded by Patreon now. All kinds of different ways to provide funding for a creative outlet. So really interesting. I'm really excited about that as well. Obviously, social media is creating opportunities for people as well. Social media influencers are getting paid for product placement, for product endorsements, for appearance fees, etc. Whether they are famous already pop culture wise, with actors and musicians and people that are known entities, or they're becoming social media famous, Instagram famous as they call it. They're doing something on Instagram that, or Twitter or Facebook that has so many followers that they're now being paid as influencers. That's a new outlet that just didn't exist previously, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Musicians are using social media in different ways too. They're direct selling their music, but they're also creating influence. They're creating social media influencers out of themselves as well because of their place in pop culture to sell merchandise or to create collaborations, getting placement in video games and movies and things like that, which has so much more impact than direct individual sales of individual songs or albums. So I think there's a whole lot more than that. You know, I'm always talking about the music business. I think I have a whole series in me on what musicians should be doing as far as digital marketing and social media. So maybe we'll work on that sometime soon. It may be a NeoMarketing podcast. It may be we do a special issue because I've got all kinds of ideas for the music industry. You know, I want to take over the music industry.
we want to probe that stuff.
Right, exactly. Podcasters and YouTubers. It's a new term, you know, YouTubers. That didn't exist 10 years ago, right? Where literally people are creating careers for themselves via YouTube. So you don't need a radio show. You can create podcasts. This is a great example of how that works, or a podcast or a video show. You don't have to wait for a network or a station to come to you. You create it yourself. Now, you can create it so that maybe someone else picks you up, whether it's streaming online or a network for TV or radio, or your local radio station wants to give you a show, or just create your own show, manage your revenue from ad sales.
One of the new shows on TV Sunday night, God friended me. The concept behind that is the kid's a podcaster.
Right.
And in the initial show, he goes to a bigger company that manages podcasters, and he's going to get this new show, and it's going to pay him a lot of money. And you have to watch the show. It's really good. But the whole concept is it's his podcast. I mean, that's part of the string through the whole thing.
Oh, okay, So it's part of pop culture now,
right?
right?
Absolutely.
So that's a new avenue for to build a business or have economic value or to add on to an existing business that's non-traditional. Because you wouldn't have gone and bought TV time for a show like this because you would have no support and you'd be throwing money down the drain. But you could do this on YouTube, and 10 or 20 followers on YouTube can become 200 to become 2,000, become 20,000 if you work hard at it and do it well. Have to be
people like the content.
Right, exactly. Interesting. Twitch. The Twitch channels, right? Started off as just streaming video games, but now there's a lot of entertainment that comes with it. A lot of social media influencers are going over to Twitch because there's so many eyeballs there. That it is developing into its own entertainment source. Which is quite interesting. And being paid to play video games. How amazing is that, right? Back in the day, it was like, oh, you kids are wasting your time on video games. Why don't you go outside and play or read a book, right? Well, now people are getting paid to play video games. Some of them are making really big money the same way some, and not a lot, but the 5 or 10 people at the top of YouTube and at the top of Twitch and the top influencers on social media are making a lot of money, millions of dollars a year, which is really impressive. As someone like us who's in business or creates content or has an expertise, you can create things like webinars, online video tutorials, white papers, online courses. You can create these online. They're all done through websites. They're transactions through credit cards. You never have to actually meet with anyone. You can do it on Facebook groups or Facebook Live. But you can educate or consult via information you have in your head, your expertise, via online avenues and resources all over the world, and 24/7, and it's the same digital product you sell over and over again, as opposed to having an hour of your time to go do consulting, which you'd have to show up in person, et cetera. So that's an interesting way to create revenue or to create a whole business.
I have a whole podcast series on that particular thing.
I think we probably could, right? For sure. One of the things I find very interesting these days, people finally figured out, starting a restaurant, catering business, etc., the cost is all in the kitchen. There's so much cost into building a real kitchen that can produce at that level. Well, now people are building collaborative kitchen spaces, sharing dining spaces, building centralized kitchens that multiple restaurants are utilizing in the space, kind of like a food court. But centralized cooking as opposed to food courts, which are the individual compartments. Really smart ideas. Another avenue that comes off of that, and something I'm really interested in fact, anyone wants to do this, I totally can help you do this, is delivery-only restaurant. Food service. Now, there's the box, the prepped meals, but you got to come. They come to you, and they're fresh, but you have to cook them. This is literally delivery coming from Postmates or Grubhub or any even Uber delivery, Uber Eats, that comes to you cooked, fresh, ready to eat right there, the same way that you're getting your Postmates from your favorite local restaurant that you can go and sit down in. Literally a commercial kitchen that is sending food out to you via delivery only. There's no sit down, there's no dining room, there's no maitre d', there's no waiters, waitresses, etc.
Right.
It's an interesting idea. It's a great way to start. It used to be kind of maybe start with a food truck or some things like that and move into brick and mortar. Right. I think this is a really great way to maybe sublet a kitchen or do a collaborative kitchen and lower your overhead because you don't have the front of house overhead and start building audience. Delivery only by services that already exist. You don't have to hire a delivery driver, so you have those minimums. Right. I think it's an interesting model. If anyone in Oklahoma City or Tulsa wants to do this, I know exactly how to do it. I know how to market it. We could do this. So hit me up if you want to do this.
Hit him up.
If you have a kitchen or a restaurant idea, trust me on that. Breweries, beer manufacturing used to just be in a warehouse somewhere. Right now, they have tap rooms where they invite the public in. People are sitting around having drinks, buying merchandise. Collaborations are happening between beer companies and liquor and wine. Now, also liquor and wine and beer are infusing hemp and things of that nature, which didn't happen before. They're changing the business model. But having the public in the brewery watching you brew as an attraction and as a economic vehicle changes the business model. Sure. In some places, even like here locally, Coop Ale Works is going to put their brewery inside a space that is going to also be a hotel. So it's a tourist attraction as well. And, things like agritourism, people going to places in order to engage in the agriculture that's going on. Wine country has always been a draw. But now other things are drawing people to fresh produce and different types of things that you can go and experience, farm to table, etc. These are just some of the examples of alternative business ideas and options and formats that didn't exist previously or have morphed or changed, that if you're thinking about a startup or you're thinking about how to manage or maybe pivot a business that you have now into something that's more profitable in 2018, 2019, and beyond, these are some of the ideas you should think about because other people have done it and found success. Yeah, absolutely. Or if you're just a young person who has an interest, passion for someone's video games or photography or something that can be tied to social media or something like that, allows you to create a business opportunity around something you have passion for. And when you have passion for it, you're more likely to be successmore. Yep. Right? Absolutely. So all of this is how I think you should move businesses into the future. I think traditional business is going more of this non-traditional business. Yeah. I have a prediction. Yes. For 2019, the business trend for 2019. Okay. Here it is. All right. Right after you guys check out this awesome interview I did with Mark Masters from Chloeta Fire about his B2G business from incubator to success. Check out this interview. Hey everyone, welcome to the special guest section of the NeoMarketing podcast. I have Mark Masters from Chloeta Fire, which is a very different type of business than your normal sort of B2B, B2C. So let the people know what Chloeta Fire is and what you guys do.
You bet. So we're primarily a B2G company. We primarily do work for the federal government. We do a lot of work also, though, for state governments, local governments, tribes, nonprofits, but far and away our largest client is the federal government.
You guys actually fight fires.
We do. We staff firefighters. That's one of the many services we provide.
That's amazing and awesome.
Yeah, but we do a lot of other stuff too that people aren't aware of. That's equally as important. So
right, it's equally important to prevent fires as it is to fight the fires, right?
Sure. And then we even do like a ton of environmental consulting, so implementing environmental laws, provide scientists and consultants. We do a ton of emergency management. Things more in the homeland security realm, training and exercises, active shooter related things, public health related things. So the firefighting's becoming an increasingly smaller percentage of our overall work.
Interesting.
Sure. So
well, let's go back to the beginning. Yep. How did all of this start? How did it come from your brain to a company?
I was a federal wildland firefighter for 8 years from rural Oklahoma, first generation college student. Paid my way through college working for the federal government as a firefighter. So did that 8 years and saw an opportunity to start a business and contract with those same agencies I had been employed by, and left the federal government, moved back home to Oklahoma, where I'm from, and launched the business with extremely humble beginnings.
And this is not traditional firefighting, right? This is out in the environment.
Yeah, it is a little bit different. So wildland firefighting. So when we first started, we literally started in a dirt floor barn. It's a good story. We're up to 140 employees now, and we're a pretty rapidly growing small business. We were on the Inc. 5000 list last year, and then Entrepreneur 360 last year as well. So, but yeah, we started with the dirt floor barn in J America, and me and some of my rappel buddies from the Forest Service doing day labor for farmers, going out and burning pastures for $400 a day, $300 a day. And we did that for about 2 years to get the past performance we needed to be able to get that first round of Forest Service contracts. And then one thing just begets another. We got those contracts, did really well on those for a couple of years, got kind of as big as we could be in that market, and then branched out, started doing a lot more work for the other federal agencies besides the Forest Service, and especially the military. So, in 2016, we really started doing a lot more work for the DoD, and that was a big catalyst. That was a huge driver behind the growth we've had the last 2 years, no doubt.
Fantastic. So dirt floor to 140 employees.
Yeah.
That's super impressive.
Yeah,
bro.
West Coast, East Coast offices, and offices here in Oklahoma City. So
there you go. That's a great Oklahoma success story.
Right.
A lot of people that listen to the podcast are doing startups, going through incubators. You went through an incubator program. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
There's no doubt we would not be in business had we not gone through the incubator, in my opinion. Like, it was that valuable to us. So, some of the things we got were below market value rent, which is good with the Oklahoma incubator program.
It was great for a startup.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
Cash flow is so essential. And then there's the incubator tax credit. The state legislatures, fortunately, continues to, extend year to year.
And that goes for 5 years, right?
I think it's longer than that. I think it may even be closer to, 8 or 10. I don't know. I have to ask our finance guys.
That's very helpful.
It is super helpful. But the main thing was access to free experts. So being in the incubator program, having the ability to have those connections to get, free assistance that otherwise we couldn't have afforded or maybe didn't even know we needed, that was huge. So. Right. Yeah, I would still be in the incubator too, because if we could, they basically booed us out. It's a 36-month program. It's a state-funded incubator.
You graduated.
Yeah, we graduated, aka they booed us out kicking and screaming, because it was perfect. It was a super cool environment. Where else do you see people, running up and down the hall at 3 a.m. barefoot in a state office? Like, it's a bunch of entrepreneurs, like people. I slept under my desk a lot in that office, and pretty much lived there at that office for about 2 years, like 24 hours a day, and it's just a super cool environment to see all these other entrepreneurs and all the ideas that come and go through there and are shared, and like everyone's different business model, like everyone's trying to make it. They're all trying to start.
And which incubator program was that?
That was a Moore Norman Technology Center. Yeah, right. And more.
So, a lot of great businesses coming out of that incubator.
Oh, man. Sure. It was stellar. Like, it was the best thing that could have happened to us, no doubt. So.
Right on. So after you graduated, they kicked you out of the incubator. Obviously, you still had great growth and amazing things happening to the business since then. So what's happened since then to get you to where you are to now, today on the Inc. 5000 and all those other successes?
That really set us off on the right foot, being in the incubator, no doubt. But what really, the real driver of the growth was just doing work for the DoD and diversifying into other markets. So, a lot of people, will ask, like, how do you go from fighting forest fires to doing an active shooter tabletop exercise for Homeland Security in New York City? Like, those two things don't seem very close together in terms of, like, the markets, but they're actually really similar if you think about it, because the same skill sets are required to manage a large wildland fire, large forest fire, instant command system, and some of the concepts therein, like those apply to lots of different facets of emergency management. So we just, one thing begets another. We continue to do the firefighting. We started doing more natural resources work out of that, because that's a naturally, tangentially related thing. And then, we started doing more hurricane response, which led to more all hazard stuff, and then more traditional homeland security type duties. We even do infrastructure management, and we do aviation stuff now. We have a contract where we staff pilots. We have another one where we set up mobile tanker bases, and so we're pretty diverse.
And when you started this, the dirt floor barn fight, going out and burning fields for farmers, did you envision all of this? Did you think that would be point A and this would be point B?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I knew we were going to be a lot larger than we are right now, like 100%. So even when, for many years that was just an idea, and it was difficult for some people to buy into that, and some people couldn't. But the ones that have, they've been along for the ride. A lot of them are still with us. So from the early days.
Very good. And from that, those travels from point A to point B to where you are today and finding success, what advice would you give people who are trying to start a business, trying to manage their business, the ebb and flow of running a business, all of those things? What's the best bit of advice?
So I jokingly said a while ago, don't do it. And I have the opportunity to speak to some students at the business college at Stillwater at OSU, at my alma mater, almost every year. And, that's the same advice I give them. A, don't do it, like, unless you're really certain that that's what you want to do. And then B, just don't give up. I mean, there were plenty of opportunities in the first 5 to 7 years of the business. We've been in business about 10 years now. We're about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Which, for a lot of bootstrap startups, without investors and stuff, like, the chances of making it to that point are absurdly small. I mean, they're
statistically,
very, very
yes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I had this great mentor who's passed away now. Her name was Pamela Hulson Bickford, and her advice to me, she was kind of a few steps further along in this journey of trying to start a small family-owned business doing federal contracting, and she just told me, just don't give up, just keep getting up, and there's plenty of opportunities in that first however long. I mean, it took us really 7 years to get to what I would consider like highly stable, and then the last like 2-3 years we've just been 100% focused on rapid growth. But it's difficult. But that's my recommendation. Just make certain you want to do it before you even set out on the journey, because it's difficult, and then just simply don't give up. I mean, I think those are the people sometimes that make it in business that they're not the smartest, they're not anything other than they're just the hardest working. They just don't give up. They just keep going,
which is very much an Oklahoma thing, right?
Right. Labor conquers all, right?
Oh yeah, we're all about it here.
Yeah.
Right? But that is fantastic advice, I think, for anyone, whether they're in startup, managing a business, or even when things are going well, because it doesn't always go perfectly, right?
Yep.
Appreciate you coming on the NeoMarketing podcast today. This is great information, an interesting look at a non-typical type business. And anytime we hear success stories that coming out of Oklahoma, we're always happy to have that on the NeoMarketing podcast. So appreciate your time, Mark, with Chloeta Fire. I say it wrong, right?
That's okay. Chloeta. It's pretty close, yeah.
Very good. Real quick before we go, what's the meaning behind the name?
It's Cherokee. It was after Charles U. Chloeta Thompson. There's an area in Delaware County near where I'm from that's named after him. So
very good. So it has a lot of meaning to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a throwback, to where I'm from and to my tribe. So.
Very good. Another good branding lesson there,
right?
Is make the company mean something to you, because you got to put all that work in.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it difficult to say, and it's a conversation starter nationwide. It gives people an opportunity to say, hey, we're from Oklahoma. Hey, we're a native-owned company. So.
Very good. And one last thing, I want to thank you and all of your crew these are the guys who run into forest fires. These are the guys who go in their front lines fighting fires and preventing fires and preventing active shooters and other things too. So as a citizen, I want to thank you and your crew for doing the hard work and doing the dangerous work.
Yeah, well, don't thank me, but our guys, we do have some really dedicated guys and gals that are committed to doing difficult jobs in austere environments away from home for long periods of time. And so without them, there's no doubt we wouldn't be able to be in business. That is the backbone of our business. No
Absolutely,
doubt.
That's awesome. You guys, we will have all the links to Chloeta Fire on all of our contact and associated with the show. Appreciate you coming on today, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
So that was an awesome interview with Mark Masters, Chloeta Fire, doing some very interesting things. And these are the guys who go out and fight these huge forest fires. Number one, they fight them when they happen. We have to thank our first responders, our firefighters, every time for being the brave men and women who run into the fire. Number two, they manage the process to try to eliminate some of those fires. So there would be more if they weren't doing the process of managing property, especially for them around military bases. We don't want to lose expensive and valuable items around our military bases. The Chloeta Fire guys are helping that out. And some other things that are moving in different directions than they planned when they originally started the company. Good for them.
Good for them.
Now, here it is. My
prediction.
2019 prediction.
Drum roll, please.
The business trend for 2019. Here's what you need to be paying attention to, no matter what your business model is, B2B, B2C, B2G, any of those other things. Collaboration. 2019 is 100% about collaboration.
Okay.
You have to be working with people in new and different ways, exposing your product or service to their audience, and exposing their products or services to your audiences in win-win situations, creating opportunities for each other in positive ways that are probably non-traditional, and sometimes maybe even economically taking a step back, but it expands your audience base and potential. That thought process, that looking for those collaborations and finding the right ones, not just everyone that comes along, but finding good, positive correct collaborations
Right.
is what's going to create the hugest potential for opportunity and success in 2019. That's my prediction. Mark it down.
Bam. And, you know, it's good to hear that because that's always been a key strategy on the public relations side of things. So to hear you say collaboration is the business approach that people need to take, I'm all in.
I tell you, every client that we're working with, the Golden Group for 2018, as we end 2018 in the fourth quarter, and as we're moving forward in 2019, every commitment we have, one of the things on the list is their collaborations.
Who are they collaborating with?
I believe in it wholeheartedly. That's why I made that prediction today. You'll see, guys. It'll come true.
Bam.
I appreciate you guys taking a lot of information in today. Definitely appreciate Mark Masters for coming by from Shade Light of Fire and having the conversation about how he built his business. I hope you guys learned something from that. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning into the NeoMarketing Podcast. We will be back in 2 weeks with a new topic and some more interesting things. Until then, good luck.
Ciao.